what then is the emphasis going to be for that leg that comes in?
Well, I think if you just sometimes when you talk about issues or problems and players are made aware of it, sometimes it doesn't fix it because we're still going to have ebbs and flows in momentum of any sort of sporting contest, right? So if you make them aware of it, you give them the tools to try and change when the momentum's not swinging in your direction. How do you change that? Just we'll talk about it. We showed them some film this morning. We'll show some individual players film as the week progresses about the last game and the upcoming opponent. So we'll just try and make the subtle changes necessary to give them the tools to be successful.
So that sounds more positional than effort, from what I'm hearing you say.
This team doesn't lack effort.
Right.
Anybody that watched us play the last, well, all year, I'm going to say, this team doesn't lack effort. Just doesn't.
It's mid-August. Both the Sounders and Galaxy both seem to sort of be rounding into form here. Does it kind of feel like one of those sort of older school beginning of the decade games when both of you seem to kind of come up this time of year every year?
Yeah, I mean, the Galaxy used to, have our number a little bit when they were winning a couple championships in the Beckham era and everything, and those were some big games that we used to play. The dynamic between Bruce and Zig, I mean, there's a lot of similarities, I mean, I appreciate what Zig has done for me. There'll be that storyline, but the game is obviously the biggest one. It is a really, really talented Galaxy team that is finding its footing against, our team that is in a pretty good run of form.
And like you said, you've faced off with Ziggy a couple times now, but it seemed like either they were struggling at the time or you were struggling at the time. Will it change the dynamic at all? Will it be a little bit less cordial over coffee now that both these teams are sort of in the honey?
He's fine. He's respectful with all the coaches in the league. Zig and I will never have an issue.
The last month or so, the focus has been on you guys trying to secure a playoff spot and trying to overcome what you've done. But now you got all these interconference games coming up right ahead of you. Do you allow yourself the luxury of thinking like, hey, we got a shot at some home advantage here. We got a shot at a first round bye. Does that play into it at all?
It is a byproduct of trying to get into the playoffs. It is a byproduct of having games interconference. So we will have to wait and see, based on our results, if we can accomplish any of those goals. But those are certainly goals that we have talked about as a coaching staff and subtly messaged, because we were talking about standings, 3 weeks ago standing here? You guys asked me, are guys paying attention to the standings? Yes, they do. They're all keen on where we are in the standings. Now, do I want them to focus on that? No, I want them to focus on Saturday, 1 o'clock, and then the outcome of that game, if it's in our favor, will answer that question. But yes, they're looking at it, and so are we.
Coach, now it's a game that you're undefeated, but how do you balance changing to get better without maybe not, you got to change the formations or personnel and not being stuck to that, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of deal?
Well, that'll be a game-by-game, matchup-by-matchup decision from the coaching staff. I mean, there might be a change that we make, a subtle one, home or away, some of those little nuances. But I like the way the team has been playing. So, it's hard to change when something's working so well for you.
Right, especially with formation, or you think the guys would get accustomed to something like that?
Yeah, but we've discussed about this group of players having a secondary formation. We're still thinking about that. That hasn't gone away just because we haven't lost. So,
Brian, the team's been consistent, obviously, in the last 8 games in some things. You don't get, undefeated in that. What would you like to see from a team perspective, more consistency to continue this run?
Same things like I said after the game. I think getting Rui Diaz more acclimated, more touches, figuring out a way to be more goal dangerous at times. Some of the things that we've been discussing, the whole year. Obviously, Raul hasn't been here the whole year, but just getting him in the groove, making sure we have the right pieces around him, the right movements around him. But some of that's just a learning curve. I mean, we got to remember, he hasn't been here that long, so he's got to get acclimated to his teammates and vice versa.
73 minutes for Brad Smith in his debut. What impressed you the most about his shift?
Good. His physical stats, the sports science guys got back to me, and his physical stats were through the roof. He was able to sprint at the highest velocity and then rest, and sprint and rest, which is what we want to accomplish, what Damien wants to accomplish with the whole group. So he's used to that a little bit more where he's come from, the training over there in the EPL, and that was impressive. The other thing was he's got a good left foot. You know, seems to be getting along with all the guys, so we're happy to have him.
When you look broadly at the kind of trend you guys have had the last couple years of starting slow and then getting hot, are there any common threads you notice in those seasons that have led to that, or do you think it's
mentality of the
different?
players? No, the mentality of the players has always been strong. 16, 17, and 18. That group doesn't give up. We have key players that have been here for a long time, starting with Ozzy, the captain, Chad, Steph, you know, guys up front, Nico, Christian, some of the young guys, Deuce, everybody. It's that group is strong.
Hey, Brian, just from an educational perspective, going back, how do they measure, the staff measure, like when they sprint? Is that the vest they're wearing? Or?
It's GPS. It's all GPS.
Yes. Okay. And
Yeah.
then
They know exactly how fast they're running and what position on the field where they're at. They test it. They have all that.
And weekly you get a report for everybody?
Yep. Yep.
Competition
We
is
do it at training too.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah.
competition is great for effort, but how do you manage and make sure that the locker room and the guys stay positive when they all want playtime?
They do it themselves mostly. They're all good pros. They all understand. Yeah, they're grumpy, but they know that the team comes first.
It's hard to believe that, you know, a month ago you guys are 12 points out of a playoff spot, and now you're just one win away from getting in there possibly. I mean,
It's
that's
crazy.
Kind of an unprecedented turnaround in Major League Soccer.
It's crazy. We don't want to do that ever again. So we'll work on it, make sure that we're sharp for the start of next season.